Today here on Lights and Buttons, we're going to talk about Studio 2.0. Actually, this is the third iteration of the studio. The first two were in the previous house, first one being in the guest room, and then the second one being in the basement after we finished the basement. And now we're up to 3.0. Before we talk about the specifics of the new studio setup, including the lighting and all that, let's rewind a little bit and talk about the move, because there's some history there, lots have been going on, and as a matter of fact, we're closing in the 1 year mark because we moved last summer from our original home in Pennsylvania all the way here to Massachusetts. Not the biggest move in the world because we're still in the same country, but nevertheless, we ran into a bunch of problems. Some of it I won't really go into detail, but basically, we're fixing a lot of things. When we were in our temporary apartment, I took that time to configure our network equipment, so getting the wireless access point up and running, making sure it talks to the controller, and also making sure that our PoE switch is functioning. After that, when we moved here, I started to clean my computer because I haven't cleaned it in a while. It wasn't super dusty, but since it's disconnected, may as well clean out the air filter. So I took it out to the back deck, got an air can, and started to blow some dust out. Speaking of computers, this is the same PC that I use to edit all my YouTube videos, as well as doing some other productivity work and occasional gaming. The nice thing about this new setup is that the editing PC will be in the same room as the studio. As a matter of fact, it's right behind this camera. So come with me, I'm gonna show you right now. So the computer's right there. Sorry about the mess. We didn't quite fully move in yet. We gotta work on organization. I decided to put the PC there so that I get more leg room in, and also maybe as a good spot for some B-rolls as I'm making some videos from the desk over here. But I'm still playing around with this setup. I may or may not keep it, but coming around to the back over here, you can see we got the 3 monitor setup. We can do research, edit videos, what have you. On top, we have the Blue Yeti mic, so we can do some voiceovers if needed. And then just all this, it's a couple of steps from the studio. So let's talk more about that. That's what we're here for. Man, after moving, I went through so many moving boxes, sorted things out, unpacked. I just don't want to see another moving box, at least for a little while now. But these lights were labeled for the most part, and I kept these intact. So these soft boxes here, which by the way, they're the same lights from that few $100 setup that I was talking about. So relatively cheap especially for so many lights. I kept the soft boxes intact, which is a little bit hard to build. These are not like the, the Bowens mount. This is, I guess, some proprietary setup. And it's not easy to take these rods out that hold up the structure. So I kept these intact, disconnected it from the stand, and then, well, packed it away for moving. So reassembling this was pretty much attaching the soft box back to the stands, which wasn't too bad. They held up for the most part. And then I have a few other lights from the same room. Now the one light, so I have 4 lights as a matter of fact. I have 3 of these soft boxes and then 1 on top. Now let me move this camera over here. And so having the key light, which, move the camera one more time. Having the key light over here, I was debating whether to use 1 or 2 because I wanted a brighter source, and since I have cheaper lights, they weren't super bright, but I figured maybe doubling them up might work. So the key light's over here. The fill light, which is the original light that you saw, is located over here. And then the overhead light is up here. As you can see in the background, I do have some RGB lights, which is an upgrade to the studio. So those of you who have seen a couple of my videos I've posted with these lights, one of them was the Accurate TL video, and then the other one was about DP Review closing down. These were the lights that I use, and so far I'm pretty happy with them. I'm gonna use them a little bit more, get a little bit more experience with them, and then maybe do a review sometime in the future. Let me know in the comments below if you wanted to see these lights in action and going through the different modes and the lighting setups. I've been playing around with the different lighting setups, and originally I was planning to have the studio be on a diagonal. So I guess I was trying to be creative or something, and then trying to utilize this corner as a backdrop. And the problem with that is that a lot of the lights were really close to this door that's on the right, and the stands were kind of jutting into the walkway. And as a tripping hazard, especially at night if the room's dark, the lights aren't on yet, and you just don't want to be tripping over light stands. So I decided to rework this and have the backdrop be this window, and things made more sense. It was a more efficient use of the space, and we eliminated the tripping hazard from this doorway over here. After working on these lights, next I worked on this tower, which contains cameras that have special meaning to me. Starting from the bottom over here with this Sony Mavica. This is a camera that uses floppy disks to store images, and this is the very first type of digital camera I've ever used. Next up, we have the Sony CyberShot DSC P52, and this camera was the very first digital camera I've ever owned back in the early 2000s. And then finally on top we have the Nikon D50, and this was my very first DSLR I've ever purchased. This was around 2006, at the time when I was really interested in photography and trying to learn the art of freezing moments in time. And then last but not least, I started to unpack the Motorized camera slider, and this tool allows me to add another dimension to this video, something that has a nice smooth camera movement as like a B camera or an A camera, and I'm really looking forward to using this more in future videos. Before I wrap up the video, I do want to talk about the audio component of my YouTube videos, specifically my mic setup. While I occasionally use the Blue Yeti mic you see to do voiceovers, I found that during my video recording, a lav mic performs very well. As a matter of fact, most of my voice that you hear in this video is done with this mic. This particular one does utilizes Sony's proprietary multi-interface shoe, so that means no batteries and no analog cables needed for the receiver. I can face away from the camera, talk about something, and the camera will still be able to hear my voice clearly. I did not go as far as adding acoustic panels in the studio, but I do have one very noticeable enemy for my audio. Having a nice lav mic is awesome, but if your HVAC is right above you, that's not really ideal for recording. So to get around that, I turn off the AC or the heat, and the sound goes away. Well, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe as always. I'll see you in the next video.